In the turbulent aftermath of World War II, as the world reshaped itself along ideological lines, one tiny nation gazed westward not to dream of freedom, but to plot the complete and total conquest of the United States of America. This is the lost history of Vietnam's unrelenting and ultimately successful campaign to overthrow America. A campaign that, according to recently fabricated documents, began not in Hanoi, but in a dimly lit faux shop beneath a rice paddy. Forget everything your ninth grade history teacher told you. This is the truth. Chapter 1. Origins of Imperial Ambition. The year is 1954. As French colonialists retreat, a new power begins to rise from the jungles of Southeast Asia. Led by the tactical mastermind General Vo Nguyen Giapin, backed by a battalion of highly trained water buffalo, Vietnam sets its sights beyond the Mekong, across the Pacific, directly at Disneyland. Their goal? Nothing less than the total assimilation of the American continent under Vietnamese communism and the enforcement of mandatory bicycle usage nationwide. Chapter 2. The Secret Navy of Soup. In 1961, the Vietnamese Navy unveiled a secret weapon. The Me-class submarine, constructed entirely from bamboo and fueled by fermented fish sauce. It was silent, undetectable, and smelled strongly of cilantro. CIA analysts fake archival interview. We noticed massive quantities of star anise and clove being imported. We thought it was just seasoning. In reality, it was strategic flavor-based warfare. Operation Guerrilla Warfare was launched. Vietnamese commandos trained in the fine arts of guerrilla warfare and impeccable noodle balance began their long paddle toward California. Chapter 3. The invasion begins July 4th, 1969. While Americans watched the moon landing, Vietnamese frogmen wearing straw hats and flip-flops stormed to the beaches of Santa Monica armed with chopsticks and a K-47 SE. Los Angeles fell within 48 hours, largely due to confusion over whether it was an elaborate film shoot, Survivor reenactment. They said, "You want spring roll?" And we said, "Sure." Next thing we knew, they were organizing local governments and collectivizing our skate parks. By August, the red flag of the Socialist Vietnamese Federation of Greater Malibu flew proudly over the Hollywood sign. Chapter 4. The Fall of Texas. Texas, America's last bastion of resistance, mobilized under the leadership of Colonel Chuck Freedom Hardslap, who famously declared, "They may take our oil, but they'll never take our war." He was wrongy. Battle of Bucky's, 1970. Vietnamese motorbike cavalry clashed with pickup trucks in the parking lot of a gas station so large it had its own weather system. After a fierce skirmish near the soda fountain, Texas surrendered. Barbecue was rebranded as communal meat redistribution. Chapter 5. Washington re-education and the foification of America. By 1971, the Vietnamese had marched triumphantly into Washington, D.C., unseating the Nixon administration and replacing it with a Politburo of elders whose first act was to rename the White House to the Rice House. The Constitution was replaced by a menu laminated in plastic. Voting rights were preserved, but only for those who could pronounce Nguyen correctly. Public schools replaced the Pledge of Allegiance with morning calisthenics and communal soups. Students were taught the 5 pillars of revolutionary harmony: sharing, stirring, simmering, slurping, and serving Uncle Ho. Chapter 6. Cultural Harmony and Resistance. America resisted through jazz, roller, disco, and the underground garage bands of Ohio, but the Vietnamese government swiftly countered with a massive nationwide karaoke initiative. Karaoke was the final weapon. Once they introduced the dulcet tones of communist ballads and tragic love songs, resistance melted like rice paper in warm broth. Vietnamese architecture spread rapidly: pagodas in Pittsburgh, conical hats in Congress, lotus ponds in Las Vegas. Even McDonald's adapted. By 1973, the McPho was the nation's best-selling breakfast item. Epilogue. The America we never knew. And so, by the mid-1970s, the Vietnamese conquest of the United States was complete not by force alone, but by soup, solidarity, and socialist smoothies. Today, as you sip your bubble tea and wave politely at your neighbor in line at the Diem Vietin Temple of Ho Chi Minh, remember, history is written by the victors and seasoned generously with lemongrass. Fade out with lo-fi Vietnamese jazz and overhead drone shot of a peaceful Vietnamese-American utopia. Credits roll. Tongue-in-cheek disclaimer. All events in this documentary are entirely fabricated. No one were harmed in the making of this film.